like a Silicon Slopes Kiln event up in Eden that we met Jeremy Andrus. He was like looking for the bathroom, and then he came back.
I remember seeing you guys.
Yeah, and I was like, hey, is that a Traeger? I forget what I said. I was like, either it was Jeremy or is that a Traeger hat? And he was just like, hey.
It was a very, very high value interaction, very high value introduction. We were coming out of the bathroom and he's like, do you know where it is? We're like, yeah, it's right over there. Yeah. By the way,
so I actually showed know where the bathroom is the entrepreneurial advice here on the podcast.
Cool. Thanks for coming on, guys. Yeah. Let's talk about Giddy and everything that you're doing and working on. First, what led you to start Giddy? Let's start there.
Yeah.
Well, and two people like each other very much.
We started another business. What led us to start Giddy? I think it's similar to a lot of things that people do. You get a hobby, you get really into it, you get to understand where the value is as well as the pain points. And when you get really, really deep into those details, your brain just starts working out how to solve the problem for other people. And at the time that we kind of started formulating the idea, early 2021, crypto and specifically, especially DeFi, were just on an absolute tear.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that wanted to get into DeFi, which should we define DeFi? Yeah. Should we talk about that a little bit?
We definitely should. I don't even know that I can.
And I think it all starts really with like our crypto history. We could do our like personal bios or whatever, but our crypto history is
let's
probably
talk about the crypto
interesting path to how we got to Giddy.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about just what you've done with crypto?
Yeah, for sure. I think the most early memory I've got of anything crypto was so Eric and I were roommates in college for a long time. It goes back to those days, and it was on your computer.
Yeah, true. Back
what year was this?
2012.
2012. Yeah. So what were you? Bitcoin?
You're Bitcoin? It was pre Mt. Gox, pre Coinbase, pre application specific integrated circuit miners, pre all that.
Yeah, it was just Bitcoin mining, and so I was actually a student at BYU, and I was working in the IT department doing a handful of things. There's some iOS development and there's some testing or whatever. And I was talking to these groups of full-time employees who were literally looking for an old computer in a landfill. They had been doing Bitcoin mining since the very, very, very beginning. And so back when it got up to like $3.40, they were just like, my Bitcoin, thousands of Bitcoin or whatever that were like on a computer in a landfill. And I didn't really, I was just a student at the time and never really thought that it's a good investment. I could get rich, blah, 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 blah. Like everything was out of reach. Even like buying a stock on Robinhood or something like that.
Yeah.
Right? You just don't think about that.
What kind of ramps do you have in 2012? There's no Coinbase.
Oh, it's so hard to do. It's so hard to do. So
even investing in the stock market in 2012 would be difficult.
So, and this is just kind of how my mind works or whatever. What actually happened at the time, I couldn't figure out how to buy it. I couldn't figure out how it works, but I could figure out how to build a computer to mine it. So the first version of that was a USB stick. It was like super janky. It got really, really hot. So you had to get a little USB fan right next to it to like blow on it and stuff. So my first experience with crypto was I wanted to get some Bitcoin. I didn't really know how. So I had to mine it my own self to try to get some, right? And that was like back in 2012. So I messed around with that for a while. Like I said, I wasn't thinking about the investment and like the future opportunity and stuff. I was just dinking around with a computer because it was fun
and interested in the technology itself.
Super interested in the hardware and the tech or whatever. So I am also one of those people that lost some Bitcoin in the landfill somewhere. I have no idea where that computer is anymore. And that was kind of my first step into it. And then Ethan and I both got into mining crypto on the Ethereum blockchain. I think it was 2016 when we got started.
Yeah. So my next experience with crypto would have been like 2014. And my experience, it was a coworker who was just obsessed. He's actually a local guy, and he couldn't stop talking about Bitcoin. And he was renting at the time, and he's like, "Yeah, I just mine all this Bitcoin, and my landlord pays the power." That sounds kind of cool.
I think at that time it was GPU mining. It had gone from CPU to GPU.
Yeah, exactly.
This was before it was ASIC. So it had gone from not a whole lot of people are doing it, not a whole lot of power needed, to a lot of people are doing it, more power needed.
Yeah.
So it was like a custom rig. And it's evolved since then. But 2016 or so.
Yeah, well, this is 2014. I was working at Jive Communications. And this guy's mining Bitcoin. I'm like, what the heck? And at this time, like, Coinbase did exist by this point. So it's like, I guess I could just go on there and buy some, whatever. Didn't really think about it too much. But then, when the craze started to happen in 2016 and 17, Eric kind of like figured out how to mine Ethereum with GPUs. Because by 2016, 17, mining Bitcoin was out of reach unless you got ASIC,
like specific hardware,
ant miner, like loud as a vacuum cleaner thing, and people stack them up in warehouses and stuff. So my version of that was 32 GPUs across 4 rigs put in a stackable rack or whatever in a friend's warehouse. So I spent like 12 grand on hardware, and I mined about 12,000 in crypto. And then no, I think I mined like half that, and then I sold the hardware for half that, so it was just totally break even.
Yeah.
But it was really fun and addicting. But like, because the difficulty goes up and up and up, my efficiency was like $200 a day, 180. It like kept going down and down and down. So anyway, that was kind of like my foray into, and I would just use this thing called NiceHash. I didn't like mine Ethereum specifically directly. You just offer up your compute power and they pay you in Bitcoin. It was like the easiest way to sort of like set it and forget it, while still having to wake up at 2 a.m. and drive to the warehouse and flip it back on like twice a week. But it was fun.
And you can't make as much money doing that now because so many people do it, right?
Oh, it's so competitive.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Because you have professional people setting up shop in the Antarctic and then like next to hydro power stations and like crazy like advantages like that regular people just have no business even trying.
I think I just read, I forget, it might have been BlackRock, might have been somebody else. They just invested into, the game company Riot. They make League of Legends. Riot is either the biggest or one of the biggest Bitcoin miners. So they got a huge investment because they have all this ability to mine Bitcoin. So it's really, really, really competitive now if you want to get a lot of Bitcoin.
Do you guys worry about that? Like who actually owns all this Bitcoin and whether it's people like BlackRock and just the government that owns most of it?
I feel like there's a whole other discussion around economics and the philosophical whatever.
This hat would have to be a lot shinier, I think, for this. There was a foil on
a tinfoil hat. I've always been in the camp that if crypto is going to gain mass adoption, it's going to be really, really useful and find utilities. And I really believe that it can. And when I say crypto, what I really mean is just kind of blockchain technology, like the ability to have a cryptographically secure bit of information that represents you and your identity on the blockchain, stuff you can do things with. And then a lot of that boils down to crypto itself and trading value, or whatever. So I've always kind of believed that if it is going to get really big and solve a lot of problems, it has to be in a format that is compatible with the rest of the world. And the original white paper for Bitcoin, I think it's a fair reading of it to look at it and say, this is how we get rid of centralized parties at all. This is how we get off the grid and all that kind of stuff. And I don't really blame anybody for wanting that like ideal.
Sure.
There's a lot to be said around privacy and who owns the information. I think blockchain and crypto can help that a great deal. Anyway, I've always been in the camp that like we have to find a way to make it all fit together.
Yeah.
We have to preserve as much of the like ethical and moral value that blockchain provides, preserve that as much as possible while finding a way to like solve real problems. Because there's a lot of people out there that don't have the technical chops to go build a computer and mine a Bitcoin and protect their own private key and seed phrase and that kind of brings us back to why we built this company in the first place. There's so many people that can't do it in a safe way, in a scalable way. So if we're gonna bring the value that decentralization offers to the entire world, we kind of have to find a way to make it all work together. And I'm not saying that I'm a fan of a couple of $1 trillion companies owning a ton of it.
Sure.
Being as pragmatic as possible, I don't mind having really big players.
In some ways it's validation, right?
In some ways it's validation. I don't mind having them in my corner.
Yeah.
And especially like recently, it's becoming more of a political, whatever club that you can smack people with.
For sure.
I think everyone kind of on the Hill or whatever is trying to figure out exactly how to use it as political value, as political fodder. I think it's not really clear because it's such a populist idea that I can have self-sovereign money, I can own my own thing, I can have privacy.
Yeah.
It's really, really popular for those reasons. but at the same time, it's kind of being turned into this boogeyman of like, it's where all the drug money goes and all the money laundering, and like 100-something years of like economic problems is now all of a sudden crypto's fault for some reason. So it's complicated for those reasons. So yeah, your original question, how do I feel about these big giants owning a bunch of Bitcoin? I guess you could say it's mixed feelings, but I don't mind having aligned incentives as long as we build it, as long as we build the regulatory infrastructure in a way that we can keep privacy and self-sovereign money and like the benefits of decentralization. As long as we can preserve those things, I really don't mind having people in our corner kind of helping to make it more viable.
Sure. Let's answer the question, what is DeFi?
Yep.
For those who are, maybe not as in deep at this as you guys are.
Yeah. So it stands for decentralized finance. And the really simple way to think about it is everything that you know about the financial world. There's banks and they operate like banks. There's stock traders that operate like stock traders. There's mortgages and insurance. There's all kinds of stuff in our financial world. You can operate those companies on the blockchain. What the Ethereum network did when it came out was it allowed us to have programmable crypto.
Right.
You can write code and you can put it on the blockchain. So that bank, probably a lot of people use America First, for example. I do.
Sure.
You go and you use their website and you interact with it. They're using code on servers to do it's complex and complicated stuff, but it's all code running somewhere. Mm-hmm. So what the Ethereum network allows you to do, the Ethereum blockchain, it allows you to run code on the blockchain, and you can run so much code that you can operate something like a bank or an insurance broker. One of the really big innovations that happened that made DeFi really go crazy was the innovation of a decentralized exchange. So instead of having to go to, what are the big exchanges on Wall Street?
Dow Jones,
there you go.
NASDAQ.
Yeah. I was thinking of S&P. Instead of having to go to someone who that's their business, they're kind of a centralized player.
Yeah, New York Stock Exchange.
There you go, New York Stock Exchange. Instead of having to go to the New York Stock Exchange and knock on the door and say, can I please do this thing? You can interact with code on the blockchain that is, it's always on, it's always running, and it treats everybody the exact same way. It's just code programmed to interact with a wallet. I say, I have this much Ethereum, please give me back this much Bitcoin, and it just does it. It's based on these things called smart contracts, which it's exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah.
It's a contract that you interact with that it does one thing, whatever it's programmed to do. So
yeah, my opinion, it's the most interesting part of blockchain.
Yeah,
is the smart contract.
Yeah,
it's a building block.
It's sort of the final evolution. So we started talking about Bitcoin and then Ethereum as an asset, but then the Ethereum blockchain basically allowed people to make their own coin, and everybody wanted to make their own coin because you could sell it to a bunch of people, get a bunch of money, do a rug pull, and then hence 2017, the boom and bust, and some regulation that came for that. So DeFi is sort of like the final, well, hard to say final, but it's the latest like evolution of crypto that allows you to do stuff on the blockchain instead of just buy and sell. And that leads us into the next part of our story, which was revolves pretty heavily around Mr. Scott Paul, our local self-proclaimed DeFi Jesus and crypto enthusiast.
There's one additional thing that I think is going to be relevant to the DeFi story. So you take traditional finance, you put it on the blockchain, now you have decentralized finance. And then there's all kinds of stuff you can do. In addition to just like trading crypto, one of the biggest use cases for decentralized finance is earning yield on your crypto. And one building block of how that works is providing your money. You can basically lend your money to a decentralized exchange. They can use it as the go-between, the liquidity for those trades, right? And in the real world, you can see that in the foreign exchange, right? If I wanted to have US dollars and turn those into euros or whatever, you have to go to an exchange. You pay money for the service. Sometimes it's really expensive. Sometimes it's like $20 flat, even if you're only doing like $100. And the money that's used to facilitate those trades is called liquidity. And usually the people who are able to provide that liquidity are institutions, they're governments, they're huge, massive, like it doesn't get bigger level of financial entities. And people like you and me, regular old people who don't have an enormous amount of money, don't even have the privilege of playing. You can't even use your cash to provide liquidity. And that's just one example, and I'm sure there's exceptions to that rule. But as an example, in decentralized finance, anybody can provide liquidity to an exchange with any amount of money. if you have $5 and you want to go earn yield on it, you can give it to a decentralized exchange and start earning yield with that liquidity. So it really democratizes the access to these really sophisticated financial instruments to everybody. You don't have to have the accredited investor or qualified purchaser designation. You don't have to be super rich and have all these like licenses. Well, it's not even a license. It's a designation that got put on you by a government agency. Yeah. You can't invest in certain things because you're not rich enough, which is crazy. So decentralized finance offers everybody the opportunity to earn yield, no matter who you are. If you know how to operate a crypto wallet, you have access to the full spectrum of decentralized finance opportunities. So that, I think, is also it's a building block of everything that we're doing, and it kind of leads into our story with Scott Paul.
Old Scott. How did this all come about with Scott?
Yeah, so like I mean, obviously just being in Utah, like our networks overlap crazily, but so early 2021, I got invited to a snowmobiling trip. Scott was there. He was wearing a big furry Yeti suit.
Of course he was.
He was like,
I'm shocked.
He was dancing on a snowmobile. Anyway, he's a lot of fun to hang out with, of course. But and we just kind of like got to talking about who people we know and everything. And then totally separate of that, Eric was on Volley. Utah
Josh
startup.
Little's
Utah startup that Scott was involved in as well as a supporter. So Eric's over here on Volley, like answering people's crypto questions. And Scott is also on there. And he kind of noticed like, wow, this Eric guy seems like he knows what he's talking about. I have something I'd like to talk to him about.
The months leading up to that, I was just completely enthralled in DeFi. My background is in computer science and programming and whatever. So when I started mining Ethereum again in like 2019 or something, just building computers and having a good time with it. And then kind of like it struck me like, wait, I can write code and put it on the blockchain. This is so awesome. So I messed around with that for a little bit, doing some protocols and some tokens, whatever, just kind of for fun.
Sure.
And so that leads me to Volley. I had a friend working there at the time, and I got on their beta and just was kind of goofing around. And then they added the ability to do these groups, and I got into a crypto group, and just naturally Scott's in there, and there's like 40 other people. Yeah. And I was just nerding out about stuff, just like I learned about this thing and it's so cool, blah, blah, blah. So Scott reached out, and we got to chatting, and after a little bit he was just like, I think I got some crypto stuck in this DeFi protocol. I need some help. So helped him.
Turns out it was like not a small amount of money.
Scott was fairly. It was enough that he was looking for help to get it back.
Yeah, he was fairly emphatic about, can you please?
And the way that it got stuck. So like Scott doing what he did was sophisticated enough, but the way that it got stuck is like if you don't know code and programming and technical stuff, there's no way that you have any idea how to get it back. So help them out with that, and over the next couple of months, we just got to talking about this thing. And he obviously was doing DeFi. He was earning a lot of yield. So all of his friends were just like, I want to get in. And Scott's like, I don't want to manage it for you. So we got to talking about that problem. There's a whole bunch of people that want this thing. It's technically too difficult. Oh man, we can probably solve it with code, right? It's like the perfect opportunity to build a product that scales because you're solving a very technical problem that's code based with an app with a technical product.
Yeah. And all along the way, like in 2021, Eric and one of our co-founders, Brendan, and then eventually me, we were all like losing money late at night on the blockchain. They were making a lot of money. I should say I was losing money. No, here you get like big wins and big losses, whatever. So the whole time we were like messing around with these like brand new coins coming out, like Nigerian Prince coin, scam coin, poo coin.
That was literally the name of.
Really?
You go through these evolutions of meme tokens. It was like food. There's like burger token. It was fruit. There's mango and pineapple. Yeah. And then there's literally a point in time where it was all these different,
like a Rick and Morty meme coin that I lost.
There was like literally Ponzi token. Nigerian princes. This stuff is.
But if you do it right, you can like 4x your money in 2 hours. And if you do it wrong, then it's gone. Yeah. So the whole time during 2021, we're messing around with these meme coins. Eric helps out Scott. I meet Scott, different paths. So it all kind of converges on this one night where Eric and I decided to like go pick up Scott from the airport and just talk about the possibilities of making some technology to fix this whole thing. And so pick him up from the airport, drive him all the way to his house, talking, stayed up till like 2 a.m. His wife is there. She's asking us about our backgrounds and everything. And by the end of the night, we figured out an angel investment. And so that's how it all got started. And he paid us in a cake token, which was the pancake swap, Binance Smart Chain, Janktown. Anyway, so we got angel invested in crypto.
Oh, that's very cool. And so what was the idea behind Giddy? Like what, I mean, it's basically like we'll manage this for you because it's difficult to manage.
Yeah.
It's more like, think of more like Netscape. So before Netscape or some of these good internet browsers, what did you do? It's like it's either AOL or you're like in a literally command line, like beep boop beep boop.
Like you had to go buy a whole bunch of hardware and then program them to talk to each other and then program them to talk to the internet. If you knew what you're doing, you were really good at it.
Yeah,
you could do the internet.
Yeah,
but
so,
it didn't
DeFi
really,
is DeFi. Giddy is totally self-custodied. And so, but it's more like the app store or an internet browser for DeFi protocols. So the idea was, let's make DeFi easy and let's just build technology to allow people to access crypto. So it's like non-custodial Coinbase is what we were going for.
And there's two really big parts to that. Like I was saying earlier, some people lost the computer in a landfill and therefore the Bitcoin is gone forever.
Yeah.
We didn't want anyone to have to even think about that possibility. So in crypto land, you have a crypto wallet and it's protected by a private key. Same thing as a seed phrase. Some people might know like a 12-word seed phrase or
you
whatever.
get the 12-word thing.
Yeah, exactly. So what do you do with that, right? I don't know. I guess it's kind of hilarious looking back, but at the time, back in 2009 or 2009, 2010 or whatever, the innovation of a paper wallet was like a big deal. You can write your seed phrase on a piece of paper, and now you have it backed up in the physical world, right? So, and that's still...
That's actually kind of funny.
Yeah, right? We look back and it's just like, man, like we were doing what we could, and people still do that. You write your private key on a sticky note and put it on your computer.
Well, now they have these kits on Amazon where you get a piece of metal and a bunch of letters, and you literally like pound
I have one of
the
those.
letters into the metal.
I literally have one of those. Well, like a version of those. I think it's like the Ledger sells it, you know?
Uh-huh.
That like little like...
The hardware wallet.
Yeah, the hardware.
Yeah. So you can put your private key, whatever, in your email. You can text it to yourself. There's all these different things you can do, but it's problematic because if you lose that thing, there's still one point of failure. If someone steals it, all your money is gone. So we wanted to solve this problem of seed phrases are hard. And we spent a lot of time and figured it out. And now with our wallet, if you make an account, your seed phrase gets split up into multiple different places. You don't have to write down your seed phrase. You can absolutely export it if you want to. You can take everything and go. That's the self-custody part. We're not an intermediary. We're not a centralized body that's managing secret keys.
Is that what Coinbase would be? A centralized body that manages the secret keys?
The Coinbase that everyone knows and is familiar with, they're a centralized organization that basically manages your crypto for you. So the way to get your money out of Coinbase is to just transfer your crypto out elsewhere. Where do you transfer it to? A self-custody wallet, which requires a seed phrase, and that brings you back into this realm. So Coinbase does have some self-custody products, but again, it's not that easy. Like you have to be pretty technical and know what you're doing and want it for a specific reason to go use it.
Yeah, so like the terminology for Coinbase is like a CEX or a centralized exchange. So Coinbase, Crypto.com, Binance, any of those, Huobi, OKX, they're all centralized exchanges. So they have your keys, you don't.
So the first thing we did was we spent a lot of time solving this seed phrase problem. So now when people use the Giddy app, it's truly self-custodied. You own your keys. We don't. It gets split up into a couple different places that you own, like your phone's biometric, a password you create, authenticator app, your email login represents a share. So we don't have access to those things, and our users do. So it's still self-custodied. So it solves the problem of like, for example, the FTX thing that happened.
It solves fraud.
Yeah, we do not get in between you and your money. We can't.
If the government came and told us like, give us this guy's private key, we're like, sorry, we don't have it. Our servers don't have it. We don't have it.
Yeah,
and it's demonstrated by the blockchain itself. Like you can prove everything that we claim by looking at the blockchain, where the money goes and who owns what. So that was thing number one. We wanted people to be able to use a wallet that was self-custodied, that was still secure but also easy, and that took us a lot of time to build. And then the rest of it is basically just code and app stuff on top that brings you decentralized finance yield-bearing opportunities really, really easily.
Makes it easy, understandable.
Exactly.
A layman can do it.
Yeah, you can tap it with one button. As Coinbase, but you in fact have access to your own keys the whole time.
Doing DeFi yourself is like a 14-step process to get into one yield-bearing protocol, but in our app you just tap a button, and you're doing the exact same stuff. It's just that the app and code is making it a lot easier to do.
Yeah.
So when FTX happens, how do you guys respond? What did you think of that whole episode? By the way, it's still going. It sounds like this guy might actually get off.
Well, there's just the other day on Twitter, it said like FTX has reopened stuff.
Yeah, they
so
might
customers
reopen it
can
and stuff like
get
that.
some of their money back. And that's the case with a lot of these. Celsius, Voyager, BlockFi. They're all trying to sort of open some of it up. You'll get some of your money back, all that.
It's the we're swimming in the same ocean as everybody else. So of course we're affected, but it's indirectly. We got a lot of questions when FTX happened. Like, are you guys doing okay? Whatever. And we're like, yeah, it's kind of business as usual. As a matter of fact, when FTX happened, a lot of money flowed away from centralized exchanges, centralized organizations, to self-custody things and to DeFi. So it definitely hurts the industry as a whole. We went from around 3 trillion market cap to around 1 trillion, sometimes less. So the industry as a whole is going to suffer from that. But the beauty of it is it kind of proves why self-custody crypto is important, because we weren't really affected. Our users...
And FTX was the 6th centralized organization to go down in 2022.
Yeah.
Because after Terra Luna went, like, basically, like, it was like Celsius and Voyager and all these other guys, and the FTX was sort of like the huge domino that all the others sort of led up to.
And Coinbase is in a lawsuit right now, right? Like, with the government.
Yep. SEC.
How does that affect you guys? Like, what stops the government from coming after you guys?
A lot of it has to do with custodianship. So the specifics around the lawsuit with Coinbase and the SEC, it has a lot to do with whether or not individual crypto tokens are securities or not. Kind of the core issue is, did you make an exchange and didn't register it to sell securities that are also unregistered? There's questions of them operating a clearinghouse, an exchange, and also a broker-dealer. So if you do those 3 things that are regulated activities with unregistered securities and you didn't register any of those things, that's a problem. So the SEC is basically trying to say, we have jurisdiction over those things. We're claiming that you are performing regulated activities. We want to prove that cryptos are securities, therefore we get to regulate it, therefore you have to register with us, therefore we get to, so it really is a question about what are digital assets. And
yeah, it's a weird case too, because the SEC also let them go public.
Right.
So that's kind of like the sign off of like, yeah, what you're doing is fine.
And they were trading those assets at the time.
Yeah.
And the SEC commissioner, Gensler, whatever, the head of the SEC,
Gary Gensler.
Yeah, he's made comments about Bitcoin and Ethereum and some of the tokens not being securities in the past. And all of a sudden we get all these comments about them. They're definitely securities, and there's all these other interested parties, trying to make it look like one thing. And a lot of it, there's also some interesting, political talk going around crypto right now.
Yeah.
I think they're basically trying to test the waters around, like, is this something people care about? Can we get votes if we frame it this way or that way? We saw, there was Elizabeth Warren and her anti-crypto army, which they kind of tested the waters with that. We haven't heard anything about it in a minute. We heard that crypto was...
Why does she hate everything, Elizabeth Warren?
So
gosh dang it.
And I guess you could say this is my tinfoil hat. It just looks like political stuff to me. It just looks like, can we use this thing?
By the way, I'm joking. I don't care. Nobody comment about that.
I was waiting for the list of the other things that she hates. Like, what else does she hate?
Probably like Oreos or something.
Maybe jam. What flavor?
Business.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
that's a big one.
Hey, businesses of all kinds. Don't support any business of any kind. I don't eat. I don't drive.
Yeah. So that lawsuit against the SEC's lawsuit against Coinbase. There's similar lawsuits out there. They have a lawsuit against Binance US.
Yeah.
So some of the claims are slightly different. Like Binance US is accused of commingling customer funds.
Same thing FTX did.
Same thing FTX did.
Yeah.
Interesting thing about that is the SEC tried to get an emergency order to stop all operations. It didn't go through. But Binance US said, like, nah, we're not doing that. And whoever took a closer look decided, nope, that claim doesn't have enough validity right now to stop operations. And then, interestingly, a couple weeks after these lawsuits come out, you see some of the biggest financial firms in our country applying for Bitcoin ETFs. They're basically right. So the SEC is basically saying,
like one after another for like 10 days straight.
Have those been approved? Are Bitcoin ETFs a thing yet?
There's 2 of them, I believe, that are live, that are active. There's a couple of them that like got pushed back for further comments or details or whatever.
Right.
So here's what's so funny is the SEC is saying that Coinbase is operating an illegal exchange and illegal this thing and that thing and that thing. And then you get like BlackRock, who says, I want a Bitcoin ETF and I want Coinbase to custody the Bitcoin ETF.
Yeah.
So the market is looking at Coinbase and saying, like, you guys clearly know what you're doing. You're the experts here. Everyone trusts you. You have a clean track record for a lot of reasons. Meanwhile, a certain government agency is saying, like, nah, man, you're doing it all wrong. We need to. And on top of that, you have other government agencies that see crypto as a different thing, like the CFTC. If they had it their way, crypto would basically be a commodity, and it goes under the futures and exchange rules, whatever they call it. That's called. And crypto being a commodity is completely different than crypto being a security. And then you have more discussions going on about is it possible for something to morph from one thing to another? Like the token launch event for a lot of cryptocurrencies, you can look at it as a whole bunch of people putting money towards, and this is basically the Howey test, right? People putting money towards a common enterprise with the expectation of gains. So when you launch a token, you can absolutely look at some of these things that way, but they do morph over time to no one really owns it anymore. And it's hard to say that I'm investing in this thing with the expectation of gain because I can use it like a currency. It's not a clear-cut issue. And in fact, one of the best arguments I think that is being presented right now, Coinbase is talking about this. There's some other ones, but there's this thing called the major questions doctrine. Have you ever heard of this one? The major questions doctrine is as intuitive as it sounds. It basically says something is so new and it's such a big deal. It involves so many people. We need Congress to solve it. We need the whole entire government that we've set up to basically like look really closely and kind of provide some guidance. At the moment, we have a couple of agencies that are saying like we get to make the rules. And again, tinfoil hat. But if the SEC did have their way and cryptos are securities, they have a really good reason to ask for a whole lot more money for enforcement budget, right?
Yeah.
They can absolutely grow their kingdom. So it's not like the incentives are totally clean in individual agencies governing crypto. So now the crypto community, are basically saying like, look, it's really not clear what this is. It affects a lot of people in a lot of different ways. We kind of just need Congress to say like,
what are the rules? Yeah,
pause, take a chill pill. What are the rules? And let me be clear also here. I've also always felt like regulation, good, smart regulation is a good thing in this case. Like in a lot of cases, you look at the regulation around like food safety or whatever. I want to feel pretty good that I can give my baby formula out of a can and it won't cause harm. There was a huge problem, a huge formula shortage because some of it got tainted, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You look at the rules around driving a car, even the rules around the insurance industry and stock trading or whatever, the rest of the financial industry, there's rules around it so that we as regular people can say, that's a bad credit card company, that's a good one. That's a bad bank, that's a good one. Yeah. They have a stamp of approval, they have their licensing, they're organized and structured in a certain way, which even as I say that, I'm thinking about the net cap rules that banks have for cash on hand, right? Yeah. We had a whole bunch of banks die recently because they didn't have enough cash to support these withdrawals. Like it's not perfect, but at the very least we have a framework to work within. Yeah. I think crypto can benefit from that in much the same way. If a brand new token is getting launched, everyone's interested or whatever, we need to have some level of understanding or certainty that the people behind it could be held accountable if they literally scammed everybody. Yeah. At the moment, it's like, unfortunately, that's why it attracts so many people who want to scam people, because you can get away with it. Yeah. That's also a double-edged sword, because everything you do on the blockchain is permanent and public. Yeah. It's a great way to enforce the law for people that I just read just recently that someone hacked a centralized exchange a couple years ago, and just this week they're being indicted on those charges. So it's weird. It's a big complicated issue, I know, but regulation, if done with the right purpose in mind, for the right reasons, doing it in a smart way to promote innovation, to promote our status as a country, as a technological and financial and currency leader on the global stage, I think it can really go a long way if we just get some clarity.
Yeah, but don't you think, like, why would the United States promote another currency? Like, why would they be okay with a Bitcoin? Like, we're a country and they're the United States because it's centralized and we have the dollar.
Right.
Currency.
Yeah, so I think
it's so fundamental.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, you said, like, promote. Maybe not even as far as promote. Maybe it's just it's not going away. You can't kill it.
Yeah.
It literally is decentralized.
Well, China's killed it, right?
Well, I mean, it's still around, isn't it?
Yeah.
They've had a couple bans. They go back and forth.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they've got, of course, like firewalls on internet. So, it's all pretty locked down. North Korea as well, pretty locked down. But Bitcoin as a thing, I mean, you'd have to destroy every computer in the world to get rid of Bitcoin. That's kind of a heavy task. So, did they originate it? Did they want it? Maybe not. But like, I think there was, you go back to early 90s, like Bill Gates was laughed off the stage of David Letterman for talking about how the internet was cool and he liked email. Everybody's like, who's going to use email? Kind of at the similar thing. Maybe the U.S. government back in those days probably had quite a few people who were against it, afraid of it, thought it could be our downfall. But eventually we're sort of forced to embrace it. And it even, people made huge money in the 90s off of tech stocks and everything. So maybe it's not that maybe they probably just wish it was their idea, more like they had originated. But I think now it's
maybe they did. Maybe they're Satoshi.
It could be.
And people have told us along the way on our journey and stuff, like did you know the U.S. government is the largest holder of Bitcoin? Maybe that has been true at one point or another. Maybe it still is. Who knows? But I think at this point, at the very least, and if you're talking about just Bitcoin itself, I just don't think it's something. It's something that no one person or country can get rid of, and there's a lot of innovation going on in blockchain, and so at this point, I think we have a decision as a country, like, do we want all the innovation and the brain power to leave the country, or do we want to take advantage of it? It's very, very similar to an early 90s situation.
I think that's a huge part of the discussion, the debate or whatever. But to your point, I can't go make a new currency called like Eric Bucks and claim that it's backed up by my ability to farm corn and shoot my guns or whatever. That's illegal to do. So having a competing currency it's problematic on a very large on a large scale. I kind of look at it from a more pragmatic standpoint. Like right now, China and Russia, for example, they're doing energy deals on I think it's the Chinese yen, if I remember right. And they're bringing in other countries that are basically, for military, political, geographical reasons, they're saying like, we want to get off the U.S. dollar. We don't want to be so dependent on that. So the U.S. dollar has a brand that's long-standing. It has a huge amount of buying power across the world. Still, even though other countries are trying to get off the dollar or whatever, there's a lot of countries out there that wish they could transact in it more, right? So if we want to protect our ability to or protect our status as like a global leader as far as like trade is concerned and currencies are concerned, I think this is a great opportunity for us to adopt a new technology. So it doesn't, in my mind, it doesn't exactly take the form of the U.S. owning Bitcoin, for example. Nobody really can, which is kind of the beauty of it.
Yeah.
It's its own beast, and it's kind of why it's never going to go away. As long as there are computers on the planet, Bitcoin will be a thing. But if the U.S. government, okay, so for example, there's a stable coin called USDC, right? Issued by a company called Circle. The topic of stablecoin, there's a lot to discuss, but what it boils down to is you have a token on a blockchain that is supposed to have the same buying power as $1 US.
Yeah.
So it's pegged to a US dollar, right? If I want to go buy $1,000 worth of Ethereum, I can use $1,000 of stablecoin to get that much Ethereum, right? So how does that peg happen? Like what's the actual mechanic behind that? One of the better ways to do it is to have some regular real world assets that back up that stablecoin. So when you trade in and out of the blockchain in the real world, you're either putting a real dollar on the blockchain or you're taking a blockchain dollar off and getting real dollar back. So Circle, the company that issues USDC, is one of the best, if not the only one, that has fully audited, totally backed dollar for dollar stablecoin. And the United States government basically we mint dollars out of the I'm probably going to get this detail wrong, but for all intents and purposes, the Federal Reserve, right? They have all power over that. There's a couple of banks that are able to like interact with the Federal Reserve, et cetera. It gets complicated from there. But if the U.S. government decided that we could mint digital dollars out of the Federal Reserve, if this USDC coin was something that the U.S. adopted, that is international. It's digital. It gets traded over the internet. It's totally borderless. And because it's on these blockchains, anyone who's like validating the blockchain or has access to the blockchain can interact with it.
Yeah.
So I see an opportunity here for the United States to kind of not really reclaim, but like back up our status as like a leader on the global economic stage by having a digital currency that is fully supported by the U.S. government. Fiat currencies, for all intents and purposes, are supported by our ability to, take our word for it, kind of a thing. It's a terse way to put it, but you could absolutely have a digital version of the U.S. dollar and then have it be international, used everywhere by everybody. And, kind of the turf wars that are happening right now, I think we can put an end to it immediately and also still have control over that thing. So it is also a little bit antithetical to kind of the ethos, the reason that crypto exists. We want to get away from centralized players, and we want to have our own self-sovereignty over our money, and privacy is a very big issue. I still think that we can build those things in there. I think we can do it the right way, but there's an opportunity right now for our country to be the leader on digital assets. And unfortunately, in my view, a lot of it's being kind of tied up with political interests. But so does the government want a competing currency? Not really. Yeah. So let's go ahead and figure out a way to build it into the system so that we can lead out on the new evolution of what a digital global economy looks like.
So let's get back to Giddy just for a sec. How is it going? So you get this initial investment from Scott Paul. You start building the thing, and you've gotten investment since, right?
Yeah, for sure. I couldn't wait to talk about that story more. It's really fun. So Scott Paul puts in a bunch of crypto. I had just been fired from a job, so I was like, "Sweet, new thing, let's do it." And it was a happy departure on my end. I was very glad to get out of there. But speaking of former jobs, so I'm actually sitting where my old desk used to be.
Really?
In this spot. So 2015, I was the first mobile apps engineer at Outlet. Full time anyway.
This used to be Outlet's office.
Yeah, so right here I put some stickers on the door, like a little Android sticker, and he was like holding an apple like a little baby. Anyway, because of the whole babies thing. But yeah, so this whole building and this room definitely has some nostalgia for me. But it wasn't Outlet at the time. It was a whole different company. It was 2021, obviously. So 2021, I had just got fired from a job. We just got an angel investment of $120K, but we didn't really know what we were going to build yet. In fact, the first step was we thought we were going to make a coaching business because
interesting.
What better group to serve than those like high net worth individuals that want to get exposure to DeFi, kind of like Scott Paul. So he introduced it to a bunch of his friends. And we would get them on. You ever heard of MetaMask? Mm-hmm. So the kind of like the largest non-custodial wallet. Yeah, little fox face.
Do-it-yourself version.
Yeah. I guys call it the fox face. But so we get people on MetaMask, and we're like halfway through coaching them, and they're just like, "Oh my gosh, I hate this. I don't want to do this. Can you do it for me?" And they were like, "Oh, do we start like a hedge fund or something?" And then there was just some light bulb moments, and like we got some of our smartest, brightest people that we've ever met together, and. Mm-hmm. Decided like, no, this is tech. And so we made a pitch deck. And then, 2021 was pretty hot VC year.
Yeah, I would say so, yeah.
All time cash deployed, all time funds raised, all time everything. IPOs, crazy acquisitions. Utah had some 10-figure acquisitions in 2021. And so, things were really hot. So we basically had every fund in Utah, like, please go with us, which is a great kind of fun. Cool. Yeah, kind of a fun moment. Every pitch you give that's super received incredibly well, and they're just like, okay, let's go. And it turned out by the end of the year, Paleon was our largest check, and they've been awesome to work with. And then we got just a whole bunch of other really great investors. I mean, it's all public information on Crunchbase and stuff, but CEO of Traeger Grills, Jeremy, he was really fun to meet. And in fact, it was at like a Silicon Slopes Kiln event up in Eden that we met Jeremy Andrus.
Yeah.
He was like looking for the bathroom, and then he came back.
I remember seeing you guys.
And I was like, hey, is that a Trigger? I forget what I said. I was like, either it was Jeremy or is that a Traeger hat? And he was just like, hey.
It was a very, very high value interaction, very high value introduction. We were coming out of the bathroom and he's like, do you know where it is? We're like, yeah, it's right over there. Yeah. By the way,
so
I actually showed
know where the bathroom is the entrepreneurial advice here on the podcast.
That was kind of a fun one too, because at the time I was like just totally nerding out about Traeger grills. I was showing Jeremy my setup where I have a gas grill for searing and I have the smoker for like the slow cook or whatever. Right. And he was like, don't tell anybody this. And he showed me this picture of a prototype they had been working on. It's out now. They built in the searing thing next to the smoker. And I was like, oh my gosh, you know me. You've been in my life. So yeah, that's a guy that knows good products.
It was hilarious because his like business manager guy comes walking up and he's like, hey man, I'm gonna invest in these guys. And he's like, wait, you're gonna do what? What's going on? Like, who are these people? And he ended up actually investing, which is awesome. But in that event was at Derek White's house. You know, he came in and of course, a bunch of other just amazing people. Brandon Fugel as well. Yeah. That guy, like, is there a more interesting person than Brandon Fugel?
There's not. He is the thing that guy does. The things that guy does every day, and I mean, just Skinwalker Ranch alone makes him a legend.
Just that, and it's not just that. It's a lot more.
It's not even close.
His book collection, like the guy is just hilarious, and he's really really fun. So we got kind of this like star-studded crew into this round. Obviously, market conditions helped in 2021, but we really did have kind of a crack crew. If you look at the logos that we can string together of our sort of like core group, we've got PricewaterhouseCoopers, Owlet, Walmart, SoFi, Simple Nexus. We've just got like all these crazy like. It was really funny pitching the VCs because it's like, hey, you guys made a lot of money on blank, like rattle off 4 logos, and they're just like, yeah, and we're like, well, we built that product because a lot of crypto entrepreneurs, or 2021 especially, 2022 probably as well, are like these 19, 21-year-old like substance abusing party animals, and we're all just like, yeah, so. We're all in our 30s and we have kids, so I think maybe that helped everybody take us a little bit more seriously because they're just like, yeah, we've built the products to get big wins for other people, and now it's kind of our turn. So that was kind of part of the pitch. So 2021 was just a riot. It was insane. Yeah, really really fun. Obviously, got going in a big way. Started writing code like crazy.
And then how big are you now? How big is the team?
Today we are 20 full-time people. Okay. Office out of Draper.
Yeah, and so what's the future look like?
Yeah, so the future is just it's still our original mission. Easy crypto, easy DeFi. And so you ever seen the documentary General Magic? Mm-mm. Oh, you have to watch it like tonight. Have to. So a group got together, basically let's call it like the 11 smartest people maybe in the world, I don't know, at least Silicon Valley. And in 1991, they set out to build the iPhone. Mm-hmm. They said we want a portable like personal device that does email. They invented emojis. They invented protocols. They like so much Tony Fadell was on that team, who the inventor of the iPod, the inventor of Nest, right? No. Anyway, Next. Not Next. Ring doorbell, Nest. No, the Nest. Yeah, Tony Fadell. Yeah. Anyway, so this team, insane engineering, and they built something that was 15 years too early. Yeah. And so when we set out to build Giddy, the world was ready for it, and then crypto completely collapsed. And so we think that it might still be a little bit early for DeFi, but what we do have adoption. The crypto community has really embraced what we're doing because they see what we're doing. Oh wow, it's non-custodial. Oh wow, it's great tech. It's like we've moved the needle on the private key. Period. Yeah. Like we've built stuff that didn't exist before, and like willed things into existence that didn't exist before, like one swipe staking as well, as opposed to, as Eric was saying, like a 14-step process to stake into a smart contract. Literally today in the Giddy app, one swipe. It's absolutely incredible. Yeah.
So we made some decisions really early on that have proven to be good decisions. So design decisions and architectural ones on a very, very, very high level, right? We knew that self-custody was going to be important. It's a hard problem, but we had to solve it. We knew that doing DeFi directly on the blockchain without an intermediary is going to be like super important. And those decisions have kind of borne out. So when FTX happens, everyone says like, oh no, are you in trouble? And we're like, no, we're self-custodied. We're like, we're a totally different beast. And then other protocols die and some stable coins depeg, and just with all of the absolute chaos, what we're built on is a foundation of really good technical innovation. We have people who have over the course of 2 years just performed basically miracles, stuff that didn't exist. Like, I can't even say how many other startups we've had to basically build within this one because we needed it and it didn't exist. So every time a company dies for one reason or another, there is another couple of wallets that were built on top of, I don't know if you remember the Terra Luna fiasco. But there's a stablecoin and it crashed and all of the money just vanished. Like, what was it? It was either 8 or 10 billion.
Yeah, it was supposedly pegged to the dollar, but
it wasn't actually backed up.
We were at a trade show called Permissionless out in Florida in like April of 22, and the booth next to us was just a little white and black sign in an empty booth that said Terra Luna. We're just like, it's like a headstone.
Seriously.
It was eerie.
So there's some apps that were built on top of their 20% stablecoin yield, and Terra Luna dies, and there they go. There's other apps that are built on top of some fiat, some fiat rails companies, and those companies go out of business, and the app built on top of it is now dead. So the way that we structured these things, the decisions that we made really early on, were very, very close to the founding principles, the core principles of decentralized structure, permissionless apps, and we had to build the technology in order to make it work. And so, the whole industry, the whole crypto market cap, it's not a surprise. The prices are totally volatile. Everything goes totally nuts. I think that where DeFi used to bring people into crypto, it still does that to a certain degree, but it's not nearly as interesting as it was when the yields were at like 1,000,000% or whatever. So the industry's gotten smarter. Everyone's kind of evolving. We're all looking for the real, we want to connect more dots with the problems that it can solve in the real world and all these utilities and stuff. So
spoken in the Utah accent, real yield.
Real yield.
Real yield. Real yield.
Real yield.
I think that, and so you're pretty lean and mean too. Only 20 people is like, that's awesome.
Yeah. The people that we have are just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that's incredible.
It doesn't really get a lot better than the crew that we have.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed you guys only had 20 people. The product that you've built is, that's incredible.
Thanks.
Well, I think you made the point. Like, to build what we have built with normal people, we would be 60. We'd have to be. But like, we have people from
who are abnormal.
Yeah, really though. Each and every one of us, if you're at Giddy, you're abnormal. It's just a fact. I'll raise my hand first on that front. But the engineers that we have are people are like principal engineers who move the needle wherever they are. Yeah. And these people have come like big fintech like Varo. Yeah. Stuff like that. It's people that just move the needle.
So to answer the question, what does the future hold? The future for us in Giddy is the same future as blockchain and crypto and DeFi in general. There's a couple things that I'm kind of excited about. They're being experimented with right now. But for example, the ability to kind of have an identity that's represented by a crypto wallet, and what that means. There's payments. There's like decentralized social media and messaging. There's kind of some interesting use cases they're being experimented with. We'll see kind of how they pan out. Whatever crypto and the blockchain and smart contracts and whatever comes up with, we'll be right there. We're ready to integrate with it. Whatever problems are being solved and utility that arrives, we're right there with it because our foundations are the tech. They're not gimmicky things on top of it. Our foundations are the foundations. Yeah. So we're thinking about how to serve more people who are interested in holding more kinds of tokens on more kinds of blockchains. Obviously with crypto, just swapping tokens around is kind of a big use case. So we want to make that easier and smoother and cheaper. But the really important thing is whatever happens, we're going to be ready for it because our foundation, our fundamentals match the foundation and fundamentals of crypto tech and the blockchain in general.
What is why Utah? Why is Utah? I'm obviously you're from Utah. You love this place, that type of stuff. But what is Utah viewed as in the Web3 blockchain community? Yeah. And what do you think the future of this state is?
You know what? And if it's okay, I want to turn that question back on you because I think you have a unique perspective on what it means to be here and how it's evolved way better than I do. To kind of kick that off, it's just like, what has changed in the last 20, 25 years in Utah's tech scene, venture capital scene, economics, jobs? You tell me, why are we here? And I bet you it's going to align with my answer.
I think we're the entrepreneur capital of the world. I really do. I think Utah is the most entrepreneurial state. and the entrepreneurial place. It's the place to start a company, right? And I think that it starts there, and then you've got this rich history of tech inside of it. Like, what was it? Like the late 90s, 2 of the 10 best tech companies in the world were in Provo, Utah, and WordPerfect and Novell, right? Like, those were important companies. CEO of Novell went to go become CEO of Google, right?
Yeah.
Like, this was, so the rich tech history is probably not as known outside in the state of Utah as it is to us inside of it. But I think it's just, it takes a while to build a community, and you look what Silicon Valley did and what they've built there around Stanford and those research universities is like, it's unbeatable.
The history.
There's a Stanford professor that, like, I don't know why he's chosen this hill, but all he posts about is what is statistically the likelihood of being a unicorn. That's like all he posts about. And of course, in basically every report, it's be a PhD computer science student at Stanford. It's basically the end goal. But in all of his reports, Utah and BYU and the U are all like 2, 3, 4 in all of his stats and stuff. And it's kind of, it's you don't want to get your head puffed up or anything like that. But in all of his research and stuff, there's a lot of stuff that aligns with a lot of companies around here. Like, like going to what school and like, anyway, all kinds of funny little details.
You've probably seen some of these posts on LinkedIn and Twitter where Utah has like a better chance of creating a tech unicorn than like 48 other states.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that just came out recently.
Yeah.
Those things hit all the time. It's kind of crazy.
Some pretty similar stats with Paleon, with our major VC as well. They've had so many wins, and I think there's really a lot of alignment there. Kind of like what Ethan was mentioning earlier, where like we've worked at like a lot of your portcos, and a lot of them were super successful. So like we've kind of done the song and dance or whatever. But
in the crypto community, in the blockchain world, or Web3, or however you define it these days. Like for me, this is like me, like, and this is a world you guys know way better, but like Wyoming and what Caitlin Long, who I'm sure you guys know or know of, and what she's kind of built and turning Wyoming into like the crypto state. How close is Utah to being like what Wyoming is?
Man, super good question. Our CFO and also Chief of Compliance, Dave Lemke. So he joined us from PricewaterhouseCoopers. He was a senior director there. Just stellar, amazing. It doesn't really get better than this guy at anything. He went to BYU. Ethan knew him back in college. We've known him for a while. So he works really closely with the state of Utah, with the Utah Blockchain Coalition. And there's 2 different entities, Utah Blockchain Coalition and another one. And we are not only hot on the heels of every other state in terms of innovation, we're pushing the envelope as well. So we recently passed some legislation around creating a DAO in Utah, so you can create it with a real world legal entity with real people, and then anonymize the whole thing so that it gets turned over to the hands of the decentralized blockchain.
Yeah, and for those decentralized autonomous organizations.
Yep.
What a DAO is.
If you think about a real world C corp or LLC or whatever, there's some parallels to what a DAO is supposed to be.
Yeah.
So not the same thing as Taoism.
But so similar. No, I'm just kidding. And then in Utah County right now, it's your driver's license, marriage certificate, probably a couple of other things, have the same legal power if they exist on the blockchain as they do in printed format, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a thing today.
That's
I know.
cool.
It's super cool. And there's probably a couple of other examples, but Utah is, kind of a funny story. In crypto land and finance in general, there's this notion of a money transmitter permit. It basically means I'm going to take someone's money, I'm going to do some stuff, and then I'm going to give them back that money. And the some stuff thing, you need to prove to the government that you are trustworthy, that you're not a criminal, because you can do a lot of tricky things with people's money, and you need to prove that you're not. So getting a money transmitter license is it's a big step in the right direction for a lot of companies, especially crypto companies. So we went and talked to the state of Utah, and at the time, they didn't really have a designation for digital assets and what it meant to be a self-custodied wallet provider who was doing this stuff. So they sent us a letter back. It was kind of funny, and it was intentionally a little bit like tongue-in-cheek or whatever.
Sure.
But they're like, we find it ironic that you are seeking to be regulated, but we cannot regulate you because we don't have a definition for this thing. Yeah. So we're like, can we get into this like sandbox at least? Like there's this idea of a legal sandbox that for like a couple years you can develop a
that fintech sandbox.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we didn't qualify for that yet, or we didn't qualify for that either because digital assets, blah blah blah. So it exists now. They stood both of those things up. I think in direct response to a lot of folks in Utah who are working on crypto who are asking for those things. So this industry, tech in general, business in general, especially this industry, the state of Utah hears us. They listen to us. Like, we're making jobs, we're creating innovation, we're trying to like bring up the entire ecosystem by putting a lot of work and sweat and effort into it. So we're heard. So the state is an amazing place to work in terms of developing a business that is innovative and creative. And even though we're not really well defined, we're telling the state, we're raising our hand, we're saying like, please, can we tell you what we're doing? Can we be as transparent as possible? And their answer basically was like, hold on just a second. Okay, now yes, right?
Yeah.
So there's so many reasons why building a business here, building a community and a company in Utah is just phenomenal. And I think it says a lot that we were able to attract the talent that we have.
Yeah.
There's about half of us, half of our product team is remote. There's Canada and Seattle and San Francisco and
interesting.
Yeah. So man, I feel like this is a topic we can talk about for a really long time. There's endless reasons why being here is just really, really good. And especially when we're pushing, we're on the bleeding edge of innovation as far as crypto is concerned. Utah has been really great to work with in those terms.
Yeah, by the way, what's the Utah Blockchain Coalition?
Oh yeah, so it's a group that was put together to basically like drive blockchain adoption and create friendly environment for it. Tobin Gardner's, I think the guy that organized it, but he kind of heads it up right now. And I believe his wife is like involved in the county government in Utah County. I think she helped actually push through the whole
Utah County Commissioner, I'm pretty
Amy?
sure.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Amy Gardner?
Huh?
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah,
I know her.
Yeah, Utah County Commissioner. But the one thing that surprised me is that we got an invite to the government's, the governor's house for lunch one day, and the whole topic was Web3. He just said like, how can I be helpful? So myself and then a guy from TaxBid and a few other Web3 companies went up there and basically told him like how they could be helpful, which is kind of shocking when the government like volunteers to listen to you, especially like business people, but so that was kind of neat. But yeah, I guess maybe it's been communicated to the right people that Web3 is the new internet. It's the new like huge center for innovation and growth and stuff, and so we want to get ahead of that.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, guys, keep doing what you're doing. It's incredible. You've built something amazing. Come back as things progress too, so we can talk to you more. But thanks so much. You guys have been around for a long time. I remember, which one of you did Parker Planner, or was that both of you?
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
So when we first started, Scott, sometimes I would mention Parker Planner in VC pitches and stuff. He's like, don't mention that. It's such a small.
Oh, Parker Planner was cool.
And then in some meetings, someone else brought it up, and they're like, hey, aren't you the Parker Planner guy? I'm like, yeah, yes, exactly. So no, 06 is when I started that one, and then sold the paper stuff in 2012. We got into like 100 college bookstores. They still sell it at BYU and Deseret Book. Yeah. The guy that I sold it to, he's still printing it, still selling it. But yeah, that was kind of like my first sort of like.
You worked with Izeni on that, right?
I just on the app,
or
yes.
on
so
some
it was
version
paper
of it,
from 06 to 12. I sold it, and then Izeni was their first iPhone app, so they gave me a big discount on hourly rate, and they swore me to secrecy on that. So this is finally coming out
at long last.
No, I was there. I was there at Izeni when that was happening.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, that was really, really fun. So yeah, before Giddy, I had started and sold several bootstrapped businesses. Never raised $1 before Giddy, and here we are at 15.5 raised to date. Kind of a different story, different path, different speed, obviously, but we're having a lot of fun.
I love how lean you guys are. I mean, that's a huge advantage, particularly now, right?
Oh yeah.
If you saw our developers' salaries, you wouldn't say that, but thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm sure the developer salaries are insane, right? But imagine those salaries at 45, 45 devs.
That's the thing, though. It's especially in crypto tech, you can't get people without really going ham.
Well, and that's why, like, from day one, we were incredibly serious about retaining talent. Like, as soon as we possibly could, we had 401k match, full health benefits, like little perks here and there. Like, we bring in food to the office. Like, we have thoroughbred horses, and if you don't feed them just right, like, they'll just keel over and die. They'll leave. They're gone. So we're really, really careful. Like, Eric and I have both been full-time engineers in software companies, and we know the good and the bad. We've seen it all. And so we're really, really careful about how we treat our engineers, and we've had zero attrition on our high level engineers. Nobody has left.
Incredible.
That's just kind of luck and experience coming together.
That's very cool. Thanks for coming in, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
This is really fun.